So for your small group this month, I have for you a social skills small group called Social Sleuths. Now, I love this one. Small groups are, great to do all year round, obviously, but I like to do a social skills one around back to school time because these kids, maybe you know them from, previous referrals or from last year, or maybe you're already starting to see some social skills issues. And I think it's just a great preventative small group we can start to do to set up these kiddos for success for the entire school year. Now, you may have seen a social skills group from me before if you've been an Impact member for a while, and that one is for the older students, so upper elementary, middle. This is more toward lower elementary, but you could use this all the way, I'd say about first to fourth grade. Now, why should you even do a social skills small group? Well, it has explicit instructions on how to socially interact. So while you could teach social skills in a class lesson, a small group, you're going to dive deeper and give them very clear instructions like, this is what you say when you meet someone new. This is how you ask for help. This is how you work together, things like that. And it also gives them the opportunity to practice the skills in action. So where if you were doing an individual session on social skills, that's great to kind of talk about like the theory and the concept. But when it comes to actually practicing them, what better place to do it than in the small group setting? And lastly, it's going to be a place where they can have those real life applications. So what they learn in the small group, you want to make sure to make a connection or tie it to their everyday lives. So here's a look at what it looks like in action. Super fun. This one has a lot of games and fun visuals. Like I said, it's a sleuth or detective theme. Of course, I include you with a weekly outline. Now this one's a 10 session. So 10 weeks is kind of long for a group. I usually recommend only up to 8 weeks, but some of these sessions are pretty simple. So you could pair them, or you could do 2 a week, or you could do it over 10 weeks. Maybe these kids need that little more support. It includes group rules and a feelings check. So with our group rules, I provide you with some, but I also provide you with just a blank one that you can fill in with the kids. And I like to do that. I like to ask them for their input on the group rules so they feel like they have some buy-in and ownership of the group as well. And then a feelings check poster where they can identify how they're feeling and why. So you're going to start each session by going around in a circle, and you can use a talking piece if you want to hold something. I recommend that you as the counselor always model this first, and you're going to say, today I'm feeling happy because I'm going to my favorite restaurant for dinner or something like that. And then you'll let the kids go. And I also encourage you to be transparent and to try to be honest as the counselor about your feelings. Maybe you're actually not feeling happy. You want to also share when you feel sad or upset because this gives the kids permission to do so as well. And then our data tracking tools. So I've included a self-assessment for you here. So you'll do this during the first session and during the last session. On this one, you do want to collect the student's name and date, and then they're going to answer these questions. Now, this has 10 questions, which correspond with the 10 lessons. So hopefully after they have, gone through the 10 group sessions, they'll be able to answer yes to all of the questions on the self-assessment. So week 1 is all about getting to know someone new, and it's talking about how, you're doing a sort here of what's okay to say or what's not okay to say. Week 2 is all about asking someone to play. So there's a little chart there explaining, the different steps when it comes to asking someone to play, and then a you try it situation. So they get to fill in the bubbles there to practice, and then you can actually have them role play and practice with a group member. Then week 3 is all about starting a conversation. So this one's fun. It gives them a lot of clues that they can look for on how to start a conversation. So what is the other person doing? What are they wearing? Or where are they? So for example, what are they doing? And then it tells you like, oh, if they're playing soccer, you could say, who's winning? Or can I join you? Something like that. So it's giving them like really explicit examples of things they could try. Because remember, not all kids not all of these things come naturally to all students, right? So that's why they're in our group, and we need to provide those really clear examples for them. We also talk about how to start a conversation using past and future events. So you could say something like, that's already happened. Oh, hey, I went swimming last week. What did you do? Or a future event like, oh, yeah, what are you doing? I have soccer practice tonight. Something like that. So it's just giving them some clues on how they can use past and future events as well as looking at the person, looking for clues. What are they doing? What are they wearing? Where are they? As a means to start a conversation. Week 4, all about dealing with losing. So I love this one. It gives the kids some options, and they're saying, okay, if I lose and feel a different way, what are they going to do? It has different coping strategies, and then it shows the result of using one of the coping strategies other than, how they may typically be dealing with losing in a negative way. Week 5 is all about not interrupting. So this one's fun, and it's a matching game where they're going to see which strategies that they can try when they want to interrupt. And then there's another matching game that they do to figure out when's an appropriate time to speak. So the first one's the strategy. So it'd be like, if you want to interrupt but you're trying not to, you could just stop and think. You could raise your hand, cover your mouth with your finger, take a deep breath, and then it gives them those opportunities on when it is a good time to speak. So, okay, I'm going to have eye contact. I know it's a good time to speak. If someone asks me a question, I know it's a good time to speak. Week 6 is all about knowing your feelings. So it first talks about, all the different emotions and how you might be feeling these different things. You can always refer back to your feelings check that you do at the beginning of each week. Hopefully they're getting more comfortable by week 6 on identifying and naming their feelings. And then there are some worksheets they can color in on to figure out when they feel, angry, sad, happy, and then they can look at the differences. They get to draw a picture of what their face looks like, what they're thinking, what they're saying, and how their body feels. I like to use the face on this one to dive a little deeper in the conversation and to say things like, oh, okay, so what do angry face looks like? Well, maybe your eyebrows are kind of furrowed down, or your mouth's frowning, or your cheeks are red. Help them to really, get into those details, because that will help them in week 7 when it comes to knowing other people's feelings. So they have to then guess how the person's feeling, and then they can say, I know this because. So those are those clues, how on their face, what clues, as a detective, as a social sleuth, what clues can we look for to figure out how that person's feeling? What are their hands doing? What is their mouth doing? What are their eyebrows doing? And then it's also saying you could look for clues in the situation. So if you see, a situation, you can then think about, well, I wonder how that person's feeling. So this is that empathy piece coming in. And there's an example there saying, can I play with you? And someone said, no, go away. So it's saying, how do you think that person feels now and why? So again, this really clear, explicit instruction is going to go a long way with these kiddos. Week 8 is all about keeping calm and coping strategies. So it's saying that there are 10 different strategies they can try there, and they get to play a game with those as well. I also encourage you to ask them, for some additional strategies in addition to those 10. Week 9 is all about solving problems, like a conflict resolution situation. So next time they have a problem with a classmate, they can try one of these things. And it's saying, ask them to stop, talk about it, walk away, wait and cool off. And there's a game, a little card game they'll play with that as well. And finally, week 10 is all about knowing when to tell. So this is talking about tattling versus reporting. A lot of times our students who struggle with social skills struggle with knowing when to tell, and they might be tattling kind of a lot. So we want to give them, explain the differences between tattling and reporting and when to do what. And so there's a little activity for that as well. Now this one, I love to do some group completion certificates because, like I said, these are usually your younger students. And it's a lot of work, 10 sessions there. So they should be so proud of the 10 sleuth skills that they've learned. And they are now a super social sleuth. So I like to do those posters or certificates, and they can take them home to show their parents. You could obviously write their names on there as well. Okay, guys, I hope you love this small group on social skills.